What it is, what is up, welcome back to my channel. It's a wrap, aka Yudi here, and today we are talking about my most recent reads. Okay, it's actually not too many. It's not a lot at all. I'm gonna call them summer reads. These are the books I've read for the summer. So let's get right into it. So 1 ebook, 2 audiobooks, 3 physicals. So first I'm gonna start with the physicals. The first one I have is The Streets by Petry. I actually got this a minute ago and I finally sat down and read it. And man, this book was written, I think, in the 1950s, 1952. Maybe before that. I think it was written in, if it wasn't the 50s, it was the 40s. But anyway, if you don't know what The Street is about, it's about this character. Her name is Ludi Johnson, and she lives in 1940s Harlem, and she is really just trying to survive and take care of her child, just her and her son, and she really wants him to live a better life, and she just keeps running into these challenges and roadblocks that is making it really difficult for her to just, live a more fulfilling and prosperous life. And I feel like so much of this is still so relevant now. In the book, she works for a family in Connecticut, a white family in Connecticut, and she sees, even though they do have this access that she doesn't have, that they still have all these issues, but still she realizes, she was like, oh wow, the way that the other side is living is not the same way that me and the community I live in is living. And she really grapples with that throughout the book, and how she can, access some type of opportunity that will give her access to a better life for her and her son. That's all I will say. Gosh. Yeah, this was a good one. And the way I sped through these pages, yeah, if you haven't read The Street, I feel like it's sadly still relevant, but it also speaks to how timeless this book is written. The next book I have is Blessing by Chukwuebuka Ibeh. Please tell me I pronounced this right. So Chukwuebuka is the main character in this book, and it follows him. I think it's the early 2000s that it goes through, early 2000s into the 2010s, but it's very much a coming of age story. That he knows at a young age that he is different, that he is gay, that he's attracted to other boys. I really enjoyed this book because we see him from a child and how he has this first love with this first person that he really cares for, which ends up being the houseboy, and how quickly, the reaction from his mother and the reaction from his father, which both are still very hurtful, but we understand why I understand why the parents react the way they do, but the damage that it causes and the struggle of, Obefuna, and how he has to navigate the world while also trying to figure out who he is, and, how he sees himself in relation to how the world perceives him, and how he has to balance that, and how in that, how he also kind of hurts people within the book, how people hurt him. And I don't know if the ending is a happy ending. The ending is kind of up in the air, but it kind of is a reflection of life, that it's this constant shift in battle. But either way, all in all, to say, I don't even know if I gave a good summary of this book, but Obefuna ends up in he falls in love with the houseboy and ends up getting caught by his father, and his father's reaction is ostracizing and excommunicating pretty much from the family, and he goes to an all-boys school, and the relationship with him and his family really never comes back from that. And we see how he navigates this all-boys school, and then after all-boys school, the relationship with his parents after that, with his brother. This was a good one. I really enjoyed this one. And I, as you can see, that's the thing with reviews. You don't want to give the book away, but I have so many thoughts. But yes, I enjoyed Blessing. Okay, the last physical book that I have, there's no point in showing it because there's no cover. I got this one from the library. This is June Jordan On Call, her political essays. And I think there's 8. Is there 8? How many essays are in this? I'm lying. There is 18.
Okay, so I originally gave a summary about June Jordan, but I went on a long side tangent. So this is my more succinct summary of June Jordan. If you don't know who June Jordan is most known as a poet and an essayist. She was also a professor and an activist. She was born and is from New York, but she also has Caribbean heritage. And she's most known in the realm of Black feminist work, and is considered one of the prominent figures within the space.
I think when I think of Black feminism, I mean, I definitely think of June Jordan, you know, Audre Lorde, Bell Hooks, even though they're all very much different on the spectrum. So either way, these are her political essays. And
quick side note, I never said when these essays were written, which would be super helpful in the rest of my commentary. So most of these essays are dated between 80 and 85 or 6, I believe.
She talks about South Africa. She talks about Palestine. She talks about Nicaragua. Yeah, so June Jordan gives her thoughts in relationship to the Black American community, in relationship to Blackness, and it's definitely, I enjoyed it because it definitely speaks in that we need to be in terms, which I mean, it's very much relevant now, because in, you know, social commentary that kind of tells us that we should be divided, that as Black Americans, we need to mind our own and not be in solidarity with immigrants, with Palestine, with, you know, but, you know, this book is such a relevant read because, you know, we are very much in similar times, and June Jordan in her political essays makes it very clear that we need to be in solidarity more than ever, because our fights are so interlinked and aligned. And if anything, our biggest enemy is American imperialism. If we want to see any liberation or progress in our own movement, any movement, that we need to be in solidarity and very clear that we are anti-imperialist, that we are, you know, anti-colonialism, patriarchy, you know, American occupation. Like, if we want to see our own liberation, that we need to be very clear in our stances that we are not for this, even if it's exported, you know, that we should be against, you know, what America's relationship with the Philippines, with Central America, with South Africa, especially, you know, this is like the hottest, the most, you know, this is like in the heat of apartheid. So she has very strong opinions about how Black people in their relationship with apartheid, and our stances on it. And I feel like it's still very relevant now. I feel like, you know, in her essays, it's a very clear politic that I mostly agreed with. It was very interesting because I like 99% agreed with. It was very interesting because this book is, you know, an older copy and it's a library book. So there are some interesting comments, especially from like the graduate of the 90s, that I thought were very interesting, because, you know, the 90s, I feel like we were in a period of utopia, but not really, in a way, like a way that because the economy was good, people were getting jobs, that there was almost a little bit of a, you know, a lot, especially in the early 90s, a lot of things fall and come to an end. And I think because of that, we kind of aren't as aggressive on certain issues and things going on in the world. We kind of turn a blind eye, or again, we live in ignorance. And it's kind of interesting, the commentary of, are we still in that world when we still are, you know, in the 90s, we still are. It's just, there were also so many good things going on that kind of subdued the issues that were never, or put a band-aid over the issues that were never really solved. So anyway, all in all, to say, On Call, if you can get your hands on it, it might be online, but if you can get your hand on June Jordan's political essays, just her essays period. I know that some of these essays are in some of her other works, I'm not sure, but either way, I really enjoyed this read, and again, I highly recommend it. Okay, let's get into the next book. So the next book is an ebook. It is Never Say Never, an urban crime thriller by Toni Larue. Okay, I have really, I don't know why, but like the urban crime thrillers, I've been having a good time reading, and you can tell I'm still on the little kick. I might do like an overall video talking about urban crime thrillers or black thrillers, and you know, giving just my overall thoughts, because so far I think this is my fourth. Yeah, this is like my fourth one that I've read. Okay, Never Say Never follows the character Marla. Marla is married to, what is her husband's name? I cannot remember Marla's husband. Whatever. So Marla is believes that her husband is cheating on her with his coworker, and she is like investigating. She really, really believes that he's cheating, and then the quote unquote mistress turns up dead, and she is suspected of murder. So of course, the whole time we're reading the book, we're all like, baby girl had to have done it, because she is looking very crazy. Like, she's looking like a crazy obsessed wife. And what's his name? Her husband, I cannot remember her husband's name. Her husband is very much looking like a cheater. But of course, it's a thriller and things are never as they seem. So I had a good time with this one. I thought it was just like, I don't want to say comfy, but I don't think it had a lot of twists and turns. Like, the ending was surprising, but it wasn't the most surprising. Either way, I still really enjoyed it. It was solid. I would give it like a 4. Yeah, I think it was indie too. I had a really good time. I will probably read something else by Toni Larue. And yeah, I'm glad that I read it. The next book that I read, these are my audiobooks, 2 audiobooks. The first one is The Best Man Unfinished Business. I'm glad that I waited for the audiobook. I almost read it, but I was just like, no, I don't know. I just really wanted to listen to the audiobook. So I waited for the audiobook, and I listened to the audiobook on Spotify. And two comments. I think they had Trey Taylor as the narrator for the audiobook. And I can't remember the female narrator's name, but I wish that they had Sanaa Lathan, because my mind's all over the place. 1, The Best Man Unfinished Business follows the love triangle between Harper, Jordan, and Robin. So it follows Harper, Jordan, and Robin, and it follows them after the end of, if you watch the Peacock series, so you know there's the 2 movies, it's Best Man Holiday, and then they did the series. I think that covers everything. Yeah, they had 2 movies and a series. And if you followed where the series ends off, Robin and Harper end up getting a divorce. Robin ends up going to Ghana, and we're kind of we don't know where Harper and Jordan end off, like if they get into a relationship, if they don't. Anyway, so the book picks up from there, and it follows this triangle, and we don't really hear from any of the other characters of the Best Man series. But it would have been nice in the audiobook if we had got Sanaa Lathan, Nia Long, and Taye Diggs. If we had got Taye Diggs to play the narrators. Granted, the narrators were fine. It's just because, you know, we've lived with these actors playing their voice of these characters since the 90s. So when I read the book, not only do I see Sanaa Lathan as Robin in my head, but I hear her too, you know, because Robin and Sanaa Lathan are synonymous to me. Nia Long and Jordan are synonymous, and the same with Taye Diggs and Harper. If I can get my opinion on, because it follows each of their point of views, so it's like 3 different perspectives. So 1 for Taye Diggs, or for Harper. Harper is unbearable in the series. Not unbearable, but he kind of comes off as like selfish in the series. Like, he kind of just does things, and it doesn't seem to have consideration for his fellow friends and everything, especially when it comes to his writing. So I don't know if that really changes within the book series, but I think this is the most that we've gotten of Robin. We definitely get the full perspective of Robin as, you know, a romantic partner, as a mother, and her own dreams and aspirations, which I really enjoyed. And the same for Jordan. I don't know if we really get too much of Jordan in the Best Man Holiday series. I think the stories definitely concentrate more on the men. So we did get a lot of Jordan and her own insecurities as well as her success, which I enjoyed in this book. And you know, we do get some we get some resolutions, we get some new drama. I think if you love the Best Man series and you followed it from the beginning up until now, it's worth reading the book. It's worth listening to the audiobook too. So the last review I have, or the last book that I have on my list, is All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. I actually need to buy the physical copy of this book. We read this for our book club. It was June. We read All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Usually I do the physical book for our book club, and it was just really, I don't know why. It just took me a minute to get the book. But anyway, I ended up listening to it on audiobook, which I'm glad. I like listening to memoirs on audiobook because you get to hear the author, you know, read their story, and something about that experience feels more, I value it more. Not so many, but there's some really good themes that are touched on in the book. You know, George M. Johnson coming into his own identity, the people in his life that were there beside him to guide him and give him lessons and be a support. That was very beautiful and touching. You know, when he talks about his grandmother and the space, the physical, emotional space that his grandmother had, and what it meant to him and what it meant to his family, was very touching and beautiful, and I deeply enjoyed that. Him talking about his brother who is trans, them coming into their identity and the space that he held for George and what that meant to him was also beautiful. Like, just all the stories about from the bad and the uglies, but the lessons that he got from the relationships with his family was like so beautiful to read. Him discussing grieving, that was really good. I will say, so we read this book because, you know, June is Pride Month, and then also I think that month, or maybe the month before, was announced, you know, they do a list of the most challenged books in the US. So I was like, now we have to read it. And I feel like a young person, maybe I feel like there was so many, as a grown person, I really resonated with it because it was just like these things, like I could appreciate the lessons that he had acquired. But there's something, again, there's something beautiful about reading stories and seeing yourself and seeing what you can gain from other people. Like, and I feel like a young person, especially a young person who is struggling with identity, like, to read this and to be able to see somebody to see how someone in his shoes has come to see themselves and know, one, that it's going to be okay and that there's people here for you. And, you know, it feels, the things that have been challenged were like, this is life. Like, and I feel like, why are we challenging people's existence in the life experiences that we all go through? Like, but either way, yes, love that book. And I think that covers all the books that I read over the summer. I have some current reads. I'm working on a vlog. And I guess we can do some current reads. But currently I'm reading Ava's Man by Gail Jones. And I'm currently on my Nook. I'm reading, I realized I have not read a romance. You can see all the books I discussed were not romance. I have not really been in my romance bag. So my current romance that I am reading is Stumble Into Forever by L. Medeiros. But that's my current, I'm reading on my Kindle. So I'll put the little picture up here. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. Let me know what you guys are currently reading. I feel like I haven't started. I'm doing a vlog where I'm trying to get through my new releases, but let me know some of the new releases you guys have been enjoying. So if I have them, I can know I need to hop into them before the end of the year, or I need to go pick them up. So yeah, until the next time, y'all, deuces.